Welcome back again. Another episode of Oil and Whiskey. Another special edition. This is
special
I feel
edition.
like we've been here for a week, or we've drank enough for a week. Anyway.
That we absolutely did.
Yeah.
Well, we're in a brewery.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's been an amazing time.
Yep.
We got a lot left to go today, but we wanted to take the time to sit down. You came on the very first in-person video episode that we did, even before the studio.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have in your pockets right now? You've got to do a pocket dump and tell us.
We got dually, or not dually anymore, 3/4 ton truck.
Is that
keys,
chapstick?
Huskies, little bottle of whiskey.
He's got
a roadie. He's got a roadie.
And a wallet.
What is that whiskey?
I don't know. They give it to us at the show a little bit ago. And my
what are you packing?
amazing Benchmade knife that I actually received, I believe, from you two.
Nice.
Back whenever I helped with, there's a fuse blown on one of your Nashville customers when we were up there. So, and then you guys sent me this in a hat, and I've had it every day since. So, it's a good knife.
I forgot about that.
That's what friends are for. That's the beauty of this industry is that, all of us, we've got cars that are all over the country.
Yeah.
And things go wrong.
That's right.
But it's great to have good friends and people you can trust. Yeah, this is a rad knife. This was well worth a blown fuse.
Oh, yeah, you guys were doing the, before that, it was like
Just
Zoom
audio.
call type thing, wasn't it?
And and Dad,
Yeah, we
Jeff
didn't
Greening,
get Dad.
has never been on.
Never been on.
No.
Yeah.
No,
So we
brand
got
new.
Jesse
And
and
you guys
Jeff
are
from Greening
a
Auto
duo that
Company.
you almost like. It was inevitable. We had to have you guys both together.
I
on here.
had to have it.
The best father and son duo in the industry.
Maybe the third.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of recording over the last day or so. We got to see the shop last night and today. Amazing facility.
Thank you
Brand
very
new
much.
shop. Awesome. Brand new, well, new-ish. 4-month-old brewery,
Yep.
restaurant, winery, all the
Yep.
things. Dave from the Lobster Trap came down doing a pop-up this
Oh, yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, that
Lobster's
was
kind of
awesome.
gone over well.
Shit, they about sold out of it on the first day.
Yeah.
There'll probably be some people a little upset this afternoon they didn't come yesterday. So, but
It's
that's
a little,
okay.
little different
That's
than the Alabama pigmy lobsters that we've got. Little,
Little crawdad.
yeah, I know.
The crawfish.
They're mini lobsters.
Get out of the mud.
Pond lobsters.
Pond lobsters. Yeah. Roll tide.
Yeah,
That's it.
those damn lobster
He's gotten
rolls
so
are
much
good.
more
Yes.
southern since he's come back down here.
Yeah,
So
his
across the
accent.
I know.
board.
He
It was.
did.
It's like riding a bicycle. It's just like bam, he's right back on it.
swear,
Got
it
the
was-
thick southern accent.
Oh, yeah.
It was
yeah.
the second his feet touched Alabama
Is that
soil.
what it was? Yeah, it was just
it
the
was
soil.
instant, like,
Yeah, put me in a
man,
good
goddamn, woo.
Roll Tide. Probably was at the rest area.
mood. Oh, I started
Right
singing
there
out Roll Tide. Yeah,
across
for no
the line.
reason. Yep. Yeah.
Josh has been educating us, though. It's
they're
fun.
good.
Like, there's a lot of. I was trying to tell him, like, in Chicago, it's just a place.
Yeah.
It's just a place where people live. There's no, like, these little
Lots
intricacies
of
or, like, nuances. So Josh has been schooling us on everything. He showed us about the in toes, where they're towing, like,
You've
3
seen the.
Oh yeah,
Three-
yeah,
three-
yeah.
They didn't know anything about
Yeah,
those.
those son of a
yeah.
bitches always
talk-
fuck traffic
yeah.
up for miles on 65.
They're going back to Cuba.
So it's been a learning experience.
It's been fun. It's
Yeah,
been fun.
good.
So you guys built an awesome new shop. You got the brewery, got everything going. But this is been a long process, been a long journey.
Yeah, it has.
We talked the red truck you driving. I think everybody probably knows you and the red truck more than they even do the shop.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
you can keep talking about those Riddler awards, but it doesn't matter.
No.
You take the red truck and the Yeti out.
Yeah.
and you guys are nothing.
Yeah.
No.
It's the best marketing play that's ever
Oh,
been
it's
done.
perfect.
It is.
It's perfect.
I was just telling Jeff this morning. So we're standing out there last night, had a few cocktails, and I'm looking at his truck and saying to myself, I'm like, man, I wonder which has served more beer, the truck or the brewery.
Yeah, this
And I
is.
think it's got to be neck and neck.
Oh, I think
man.
the
This
truck's still ahead
Oh,
of
I
the
think the
brewery with it
truck's
only being
ahead.
4 months
Oh,
old.
yeah.
So it's going to
it's
take at least half a year to catch
Oh,
up
yeah.
with
Yeah,
the
it's
truck.
had to have been tens of thousands of beers that have come out of that cooler. But,
Yeah.
but a lot of
It's
good
like
memories
bottomless.
too,
It just
man.
keeps
A lot of
going
good
back
memories.
Yeah.
up. You keep pulling
It
them out.
does,
It's
yeah.
always got beer in it.
Always. It doesn't right now.
Man,
'Cause
we laugh
we got
at
beer here.
Columbus. You know, we come out in the mornings and you go to Dad's truck and you look in the bed and you're like, oh shit, it's going to take us a half hour before we clean up before we can even go to the show this morning. And so, but people are generous. They always throw, we'll find a 12-pack of something or 2 or 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
So we just stop and get ice and hey, we're ready to go again.
It down and keep going.
I got the quick change rear end in it, and we're going to change it out because it's annoying now. But when I turn, it clicks.
Yeah.
Somebody said you can't do that. It's like a bell on a popsicle truck, or ice cream truck. Everybody hears it. And they go to the click, and it's here.
Beer man.
Beer's here.
I'll tell you, it's not horrible in the cab. I've ridden with you before.
Yeah.
I will tell you where it's just about unbearable, and
riding
that's
in the bed.
in the bed. Me and Jesse been in the bed of that truck in Amarillo.
Oh yeah,
coming back from Warwick's place.
Yeah.
On the interstate.
Yeah.
About 70,
Yeah.
and it was cold too. But it had such a pitch, like
It's just, I don't know.
I was about to jump out.
That, and I was keeping my feet clear because I thought something was going to come up through the floor, just explode out of that thing. Yeah, it's rough.
funny.
After that, I was like, man, we might need to look at this thing. Might be something wrong with it. But
It's
no,
been some
it's
trips
solid.
though. That thing's been. How many miles has it got on it now?
69,003 something, almost 70,000.
In its current form.
Yeah, it's current
and
form,
it's
with the chassis and the engine and.
But you've
all
had the
that.
truck over 50 years, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Because we
close.
have pictures of me sitting on the dash at a year old or less. I
Yeah.
couldn't walk yet. It was
Yeah.
and he had the jams, it was jammed,
Yeah.
cut in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for the actual paint job that's on it. And I was in those photographs, I was less than a year old and I'm 50 now. So that's
Did you have any idea at that point? That was just a project where you didn't
Yeah,
plan on
I-
keeping it forever, did you?
No, I just
It just
no,
kind of hung
it
around?
just hung around. Yeah, I paid $250 for it.
Really?
Yeah.
yeah, so it was a huge investment.
What year?
So
70. When was Bicentennial? 75, I think. That's when I bought it. 4 or 5.
76 Bicentennial. You had it before
Well,
that.
I licensed it in 76.
Okay, yeah. So you
So,
had it before that
yeah.
working on it.
Yep, it was there. And then I don't know. I bought a Nova, put a subframe, C-notched the frame. We put that in, and then drove that for a while, or quite a while. And then we put the frame in about 10 years ago,
No, it's been more than that, probably
10 or 12.
probably 12 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it was one
got
of your
the fast
first-
track from y'all
First pickup frames.
and
yeah.
put that under it, and
Y'all put
and-
that in there. That was at the Nashville shop, right?
yeah, that was at the Nashville shop.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, and
You,
then we had a 8 stack on a little 5.3 all aluminum 5.3 liter motor. Him and friend Don Montgomery found at a swap meet or something, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, in
And-
Scottsdale.
yeah, so we
Yeah.
put that engine in it with a Bowler Street 4L60 behind it, and those stacks we ran at about 11,000 miles, and then it started, no filters,
Yeah.
and it
little
started really
temperamental.
using oil.
Sandstorms coming from California. in it.
Yeah,
It's one of those
yeah.
things when, like a
few
show
bugs.
car, you're like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But then when you're driving it, you don't even.
Yeah, you're actually using it.
Yeah.
Oh, it does wear them out. So,
Yeah, we
and,
found all the faults in it, and
Yep.
it's been a good truck to see what not to do if you're going to drive them.
Yeah,
You know,
we've
used it.
tested a ton of stuff on it,
Yeah,
helping to improve the other builds, for guys,
Yeah.
especially for our customers wanting to drive the hell out of them. And well, we'll see what's going to work and what's going to
Yeah.
break and all that. So
Then-
it's been good.
then the
Been good.
Banner broke once. Josh, remember?
I was just about to say, I think I've got just as many fond memories as you guys do probably working on the truck. And that's not anything about the truck, but when you put 70,000 miles on it, stuff happens.
Oh, yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
I remember me and you just 2 exits up putting
Yeah.
the alternator in. I had
Oh,
to run
that's
you an
right,
alternator
yeah.
down from, it was from
We're
Louisville.
leaving Louisville.
Yeah.
And I remember you were leaving after me because we talked that morning.
Yeah.
And I'm cruising down the freeway, coming back with it at leaving the show, and I was like, "Oh man, something's burning around here." And I'm running 80 with the air on and windows up, and I was like, "Man, something's burning around here." Then all of a sudden, the power steering wouldn't work. I was like, "Oh shit, that's me!" I pulled over, and the alternator locked up on it, and it was an all vintage air system on the front. And so I called Rick Love at Vintage Air, and I said, "Hey Rick, anybody around there got an alternator?" And then my next call was going to be you to see if
Yeah.
you'd left yet. And sure enough, that's what Rick had one on a display unit. The show was over, so he unbolted it, handed it to Josh, and brought it down to us.
That's a testament, honestly, to the friendships and the relationships in the industry.
Yeah.
Because you call me, tell me, I'm like, yeah, I'm actually about to leave right now. And as I'm walking, Rick's coming to me. He's got a box, and he's like, hey. And I said, I just talked to him, no problem. And literally, it probably took all of 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Took the phone call from you, got that in the thing, and then I'm headed down the road.
That's cool. It's a pretty
It worked
special
out
thing
better.
in our industry for sure.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Now, the Panhard bar story, that's a
great story.
it's a great story.
That was
Remember
some hose clamps and an extension. That
Yeah,
And
and
it's basically a splint.
yeah,
we made a bone
and a ratchet
splint.
strap.
Yeah.
because it kept smoking the side. Josh said, "Man, it keeps smoking over there." I said, "It's handling weird." So he looked, and it was broke. And then, it was
hadn't
just
fully-
cracked.
it was cracked.
It was moving,
And it was hinging.
Yeah.
So the weld was, there was still some metal left. So we
Yeah.
just pulled it back. Literally just like a bone splint.
Yeah.
Pulled it right back.
Hose clamped it.
Put a 3/8 extension, like an 8-inch extension.
Yeah.
Just
And
clamped it on
then
there.
2 hose clamps, 1 gear hose clamps on either side of it, tight. It's like, man, I think that's gonna do it. And then
That's a damn
just
near a permanent fix. I mean,
put a ratchet
if they're
strap
nice stainless,
just to keep it if it was to walk or whatever.
Yeah.
And the
Work-
thing, it worked great. We
Well-
probably had to do another 4 hours on the interstate.
Yeah, well, we didn't go that. We went to Mike's welding shop, and I said, "You, Mike?"
He's-
We're looking for Mike, and he goes, "Mike's not here." Oh, where's he at? He's dead. And
This is my shop. I'm
I'm
Paul.
Bill or
He's
Paul or
never
whatever.
changed his name.
you didn't get loud with Mike over there, did you?
No,
Like you did on
you
the
weren't getting loud with
like you did on the one road tour. Oh, when we were trying to get the tire fix.
Oh, I don't know if we've ever told that story.
I feel like we have, but it's been a while.
I don't know if we've ever told it on air.
side
I
of
don't know
the side of the highway MacGyver shit's always the best.
Oh,
but
yeah, it is.
We had a what the fuck? We had a leak in one of the tires, right?
On the gasser.
Yeah.
It's a gasser.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
So I forget what we were doing. For some reason, we needed it dismounted.
I think we were trying to put the street tires back on. Instead of
Yeah.
the slicks or something.
There was some scenario where we had to swap tires. We had 2 sets of tires, and we needed to swap one onto another rim. So we're in, I think, Wyoming somewhere,
Yeah.
middle of nowhere, and we
Thought it was a
stop.
tube swap.
We stop off at find this little tire
That's what it
shop.
was.
So we're waiting out there, and there's some farmer. He's in there getting like a tire serviced, and it's just like
I called
guys-
ahead.
Okay.
Called ahead to the place. Found a tire place. Told them what it was. Guy was super nice. Said, absolutely, bring it by. So we pull into this place, right? Tire shop. And there's things happening, right? There's a couple of guys. So roll the tires in there. I think it was tubes. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
You go in there, and there's a farmer there getting his tire done, right? But the guy told me, roll in, we'll do it. So then go ahead.
Yeah, I guess it was taking too long. Josh starts getting impatient and just said something like, just in kind of Josh's voice. I don't know that you're necessarily being an asshole, but
I wasn't being an asshole.
It came off like an asshole, I think. And some dude that was there, I don't even think the guy worked there.
No,
just
he was a customer.
Some big old country boy. He just goes fucking crazy at Josh.
Yeah.
Starts just screaming at him. And then out of nowhere, gets off on a tangent, and he just starts screaming at Josh that there ain't a motherfucking Walmart in goddamn 30 miles around here.
You're just going to have to wait like the rest of us.
Yeah.
The guy that worked there wasn't even mad. I just said, hey, man, like, are we next in line or whatever it is? And he was just trying to get it. Because we had been there, honestly, probably
dude
about an
just
hour, and they
went
hadn't touched
sideways.
anything. And that guy got really pissed off. And then I wasn't going to
It was you guys.
take it laying down. So
Kind of get. It was
both
like a
situations.
child getting scolded. He was a big boy.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing you getting scolded. And
But I told him
I
what
didn't
he
really-
could do with his opinion.
what did you say? Did you tell him he can go?
Yeah, I told him exactly what he could do with it.
Oh.
I don't care. If there ain't a Walmart in 30 miles, you got plenty of room to go fuck yourself.
I think I kind of walked away on that one. Like I said, big old boy.
Kyle was there, so I wasn't worried about it. I had backup.
Oh god.
Man,
That's a great one.
those are some of the best times, man.
The road
Yeah.
tour
tour
stories,
shit.
honestly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess we'll be doing something, huh? Sounds like after Columbus.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
gonna-
we're
we're
trying to just embark on a little 10-car one we're putting together ourselves.
Yeah.
So, and Dave being down here with Lobster Trap pop-up, we've been able to be together to chat about it a bunch. Troy at BBT and his buddy Jameson. I think Jameson's going to try and head it all up and do the majority of the organizing, but him and Dave actually. But we're going to try and leave Columbus, do a road trip up the east, and then end up in on the Cape in at Dave's restaurant, and maybe fly the wives in after the trip to have a nice dinner at the end of it, and hang out there on the Cape for a little bit. I think it'd be a good time. So
Yeah.
finding some cool little places to stop along the way too. So ought to be a good trip.
You ever made it to the Lobster Trap yet?
No, I haven't. So yeah,
That's an
excited
awesome
to.
spot.
Yeah,
Leave
that's
it
what
up
I,
there.
that's
Killer
what I
layout.
see and hear. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. But I've never really driven up east much. I've been to Vermont a little bit, done a little mountain biking up there back in the fall. And that was the first time I've ever been up east, and I kind of fell in love with it on that little trip. So I can't wait to get up there in some warmer weather. So that'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Be a
never
good
been
time.
out that way, but it does look like a good spot
Yeah.
for road touring.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, we talked to you yesterday, on the group last night with Alan and Bobby and Justin and John and all that. And, you talked about the brewery and kind of what all went behind that and how that got started. And then you talked about coming back from Nashville, but you were in Coleman before then.
Yeah.
So we bounced around a little bit. I know you told the story in pretty good detail, a couple years ago when you were on your episode. You told the story about selling the milk route and moving down. Y'all had family down here to move down, right?
Wife's family, yeah.
Wife's family.
Yep.
So y'all moved down to Coleman. And I think now is the perfect time to bring in yet another guest to talk about that story. The first time you come down to Coleman and start to get into hot rods.
like the birth of the hot rod part of
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
I think that'd be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I think it would.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to grab Paul.
Yeah.
Yell at him.
Hey, Paul.
You're up. Going to the bullpen.
Yep.
This is
We got-
pretty
we got
nice
all-
now.
we got-
Even
we got all
not
the
being
big
in the
dogs
studio,
here.
just being able to be like,
Yeah,
get over
here.
here.
Come on.
Next up.
One side note story on the old sway bar fix.
Yeah.
So I called. I think ultimately didn't Eric Pratt, Pinky's. You guys welded a gusset in,
Panhard
Yeah,
fix.
so I-
or Panhard. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
So we
And,
could get home, yeah.
Yeah, so you could get home, and then so I called Jeremy and tell him what's going on. What? I wasn't with you guys. I wasn't.
No.
With,
No.
I don't know
No,
why,
I
but
don't know why
anyway,
either.
I called Jeremy and tell him, what happened if we could have him get another one to us, make another one and send it out to us. And man, Jeremy was a little worried and stuff. But I remember Neil going, "Fuck them, they bought it, it's sold." Your dad was just, it's so funny, and I just laughed
I
over
did
all that
too.
because you were so worried about it and was like concerned about it and everything. We weren't. I was just like, "Hey, can you bend up another one?" Because
That's
I didn't
right.
have the tools to bend it up.
I remember
at the time.
telling you, I said, we aren't a regular customer. It
That's
don't
right.
matter. We'll fix it.
Just my seat.
That's your
Yes,
seat.
sir. It's yours.
You can grab.
I like this dry county. That's
Yeah,
damn good
It is
shit.
good, yeah.
That's what I was drinking yesterday. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
It is.
Grab that. You can
that.
move that thing around in front of you there.
Get it right nice and close.
I think those beers are what put the nail in the coffin for me
Yeah.
last
Oh,
night.
yeah.
It'll do it.
That's what required this Bloody Mary.
That's right.
this morning.
It's
And,
5.5%
Yeah,
or
there's
so.
Yeah,
snuck
they're
up on me.
they're a little stout on percentage. So
What is the dry county? What is it?
Dry County is about 5%, 5.2%. So and like a Mick Ultra or something like that is 4.2.
Right.
So generally, so
I
you're,
can tell it.
Yeah, I do.
I do.
They're good, aren't they?
They're bringing me another one.
Oh, good.
We'll tell some damn good story.
There we go.
We got to work this out. We've got like a waitress service that just brings us drinks during the regular podcast.
I know.
Yeah.
It
Slacking.
really has come out nice. I'm
Yeah, we
actually
need to work
waiting- I'm
on
gonna
that.
Have a refill here in a second.
Okay.
All right, so Paul,
Jesse's dialing it in.
Yeah,
Paul
I gotta dial it
Atkins, the infamous Paul Atkins. Now we're down here in your neck of the woods. You came up to Chicago and did ours. Now we're down here in your neck of the woods. Look at that. Look at the
that.
service.
Man, he's got his
Look at
own
the
service.
Good
right
job.
There you go.
Good job.
So we're at the point in Jesse and Jeff's story. We've talked about, a little bit of everything, the new shop and the back and forth and Nashville and stuff. I want to hear from your perspective the first time that you meet Jesse and Jeff and what's going in your head. Because you were 18?
No.
I was
No.
younger than that.
15.
Yeah, probably
15.
15 years old.
15?
14 or 15.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So we Mom's family was all here in town, close to Paul. Well, we'd see Paul in the magazines, Dad and I, back up north, when he's hauling milk and all that stuff. Well, Dad one day said, "Hey, we should drive out and see this guy. You know, he's doing some neat cars that are magazines, and it'd be pretty cool." And so him and I drive out one time. We're visiting down here, and we had a good time there. Paul,
I think you were about 15 at
probably.
the time.
I was pretty young, and Paul had some really nice cars in there. And I remember you had your 33 Ford, the ivory colored one, in the back with, you weren't even have the body on the chassis. And I remember you had one of the very first set of decoded digital gauges I'd ever seen. But he was trying to wire the sensors up on that thing.
Might as well have been NASA at that point.
What's that?
It might as well have been NASA.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I should have brought that up with Justin last night because I'm just remembering that right now.
What year would you have been 15 years old?
Shit, man, you're making me do math.
About 35 years ago.
Yeah. So, about that.
Okay, now let's do math again.
That's easy.
1990?
Yeah. No, it would have been, 90. Yep, it would have been 1990.
Well, that coupe I got done in 93.
Yeah.
So it would have
that
been
was
apart
about right.
in the early 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I graduated in 93, high school. So,
Well, I finished that car in 93.
But I would come down. We kind of made a deal where I could come maybe sweep floors and hang out. So I would.
No.
No, not then.
You wanted to know if you could sweep the floors.
Yeah.
And I said, hell no, you can't sweep floors. You can come down here and work. I don't need nobody to sweep floors. And you said, okay.
Y'all had moved down already, or you were in the process?
No.
We're still, we didn't
16.
think about it.
Yeah.
Not yet. He moved down.
So I get in a car and drive my ass down here at 16 and stay with my grandmother for a month and a half.
Okay.
In
Just
the summers.
just to work for Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was working for Paul in the summers a month and a half, and then I'd go back home, and then eventually after I graduated.
You done that 2 or 3 times?
Yeah, I did. 2 or 3 summers.
2 or 3 summers.
And then I tried some college, dabbled in that a little bit, and hated it, and worked for Dad some, and then come down and worked for you for about a year full time, didn't I? And I lived with my Uncle Al and Aunt Betty. They had a little place close to their house that I stayed in when I worked there, and then I just got, being young and dumb, homesick.
Girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh yeah, could have been that too. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
went back home.
Damn
went back
women
home.
miss everything.
Yeah, I know.
They do.
And and so then when we got back, then Dad was still hauling milk, but we got opened a little business called General Dry Stripping. So it was media blasting stuff. Man, that was poor guy. That is the hardest physical work I have ever done in my life. That was miserable.
I hauled a 46 Ford coupe up there.
That's right, you
for
did.
y'all to blast.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, I lost half the parts somewhere.
Oh, you did.
That's right.
in Ohio or somewhere.
I forgot about that.
So we fumbled through that for a few years, and me trying to lay down some stuff, and we were trying to work on some cars in there and so forth too, just trying to make something of it, and did a couple paint jobs for guys, and all this while Dad's still hauling milk. And then finally he had an opportunity to sell his route.
Yeah.
Either sell it or grow it, and I didn't want to grow it, so
We got to take a pause.
Yeah,
for
we gotta take a
We got a
pause.
drink order.
yeah,
Some cocktails.
honey Kolsch, if there's any left.
I'll do one of those too. Honey Kolsch.
I'll do a B&B.
I'll do another Bloody Mary.
Sweet
Thanks,
tart. You got it? You want to write it down?
He done forgot.
B&B.
Yeah. If you get extras, they'll get drank, so it's okay. Thank you, Zach.
Thanks. All right, as you were. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're in Michigan. Dad gets an opportunity to sell the route or grow it, and he'd been at it 15 years, 7 days a week.
That was probably in what, 98?
Yeah.
Yeah.
97, 98.
98, yeah.
Yeah. And then Paul had some property behind your shop that you were offering to sell us. So it was 5 acres, and so he ended up making the decision to sell, and we made the push to go south and get down here, and then
Built that building.
built the shop
Behind
there with the help
Paul's.
of Grandpa,
Yeah.
Dad's dad, and who's now passed away. But he helped, and Paul helped, and my Uncle Al helped, and down here.
It
and
was a community.
It sure was.
Did you guys have any customers at the time?
No,
Just decided
Paul had helped us with a few guys doing a few small truck projects.
I had a lot of guys that I were doing upholstery for that had nice cars, and I'd say, hey,
because you were just doing upholstery at that point, right?
I was just doing upholstery.
You were only building cars for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was always working on something in the back shop, in my shop, but I was pushing stuff over to them to, do we done Mike Goldman's done a dash deal.
Oh, that's right.
He wanted me to build a dash in a custom car, and I put it on them. Bob Lowe with
Bob Lowe
the top.
And then we did the
Carson
magazine
top.
article with Eric Geisert on all that. So that helped cultivate a relationship there. Yeah.
And then the opportunity on the Speedstar.
Yeah.
Speedstar
that's right.
came.
Yeah.
That come in '99, and Alloway was working on the Speedstar coupe, and I went up to his place to make a seat for that Speedstar coupe to see if we could get somebody in it because it was so low cut. You couldn't. I mean, he had it cut down so low that you couldn't get a seat in. He ended up raising the top a little bit on that car and all, so you get enough room in there to get somebody in it. And we done that while I was up there. We actually juggled some stuff around. He just had it all cut up, mocked up. And I told him, I said, you get this done, I want one of these cars. And he said, well, I want the first one. He said, I'm going to do the first one. I said, I agree with that. I said, but I'd like to have a second one. I said, I'm going to build a nice car out of it. And so that was our deal. He got that body done. I got the second car. And Jesse and Jeff both, all three of us, and we all just busted ass on that car.
You knew what you were building it for when you started building it.
No.
You didn't?
Did not dream about the Riddler. Did not. I mean, just wanted to build a nice car. I told Bobby, I said, hey, I'll put out a really good car. Bobby was going to build it black with flames and, his style.
Yep.
And I said, I want to do something different and put out a car that'll be different. It'll help all of us. Let's put a car out here that everybody will be, you can see two sides.
Yep.
And I got that car the end of July, if I remember right, end of June.
Yeah.
End of June, I picked that body up, and we had that car done by January. Sometime in January.
Yep.
It's done 5 weeks before Detroit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Nobody's ever finished a car 5 weeks before Detroit.
No.
And we finished that car in
We still haven't.
that amount of time.
It was time slower back then.
I think it was.
Well, we
All the
still
stories how
didn't know.
quick the
Well,
cars
Paul
are
come
built.
out. Paul come out there and said, I think we need to go to Detroit.
Yeah.
Jesse and I thought, hell no. We'll go, but we're not going to take the car.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh. And then Paul left. We thought, damn.
Yeah.
We gotta make this nicer.
I had to say, these two, and I did. I never went home before midnight through that whole time, and was back out there the next morning at 7 o'clock in the morning for that whole time. And I think y'all did too.
Yeah.
We busted.
I lived right there. Just
we busted on that car. And
remember the first time we fired? Remember back then, it was big block Chevrolet in it. You could fire the car off in the chassis.
Yeah.
And before we set the body on, we'd start it. The thing was painted Boyd yellow. You got the paint code, didn't you?
I got
the
code from Boyd.
From Boyd. And I hate yellow cars, but to this day, I still like that one. That was
we talked about
yellow
iconic cars
It's a
yesterday.
cool car.
Yeah.
That's an iconic car.
Yeah. It's cool.
I still the
But
front tires still
Yeah, the
blue.
So
blue
we got the
motorcycle tires,
chassis just pristine on this thing, and we fired it up that evening, ran a water hose, to the engine block to get it because we didn't have the radiator on it, and it sat and sounded great. Well, the damn engine block was about the color of that bourbon bottle brown. that
yellow
went-
turn.
Oh,
and we were all sick. We were like, "Shit, it's working.
That's
It's
tough
better
one.
together."
That's a tough one to reprep too.
Yeah, it's like what are we gonna do up there? They're gonna make us run it, And so we figured the next day we'll come in, we'll blow the engine out, and it even went down on the bell housing of the transmission a little bit.
Oh wow!
And said, well, we'll just repaint it tomorrow and hope not run it except for just up there, and hopefully it won't turn bad. And we come in the next morning, and the bitch was perfectly yellow again. We're like, what is going on?
So in
here?
Detroit, it was.
It was like a
always
news ring.
back.
Yeah, it was just the weirdest thing ever. It come back to where it was, so we got lucky on that one. So that was
that's crazy.
Yep. Yeah.
That's rare that you leave the shop at night with the thing of like, man, we're gonna have to fix that tomorrow, and you sleep about it all night long, and come home and come back the next day, and it's already fixed.
I know.
It's those little
You
shop
never get
elves,
that.
you know?
Yeah, it's the shop elves that get in there.
That's right.
That's rare.
It's
that
self
happens.
healing.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we put it together and carried it up there, and I remember up there.
Went to Fred Warren's on the way.
Oh, that's right. We had to borrow a display.
We borrowed his display. We didn't have a damn display. We were just, I mean, this was a fluke thing. Got to Fred's, and he said, unload it. He said, we're going to look at it. And we put it in his shop, and he said, we're going to set the display up. I'm going to show you how to set it up and all this stuff. And Fred gets in here, and he says, you need to fix this right here. He's over on the mill machining stuff.
Oh, forget about that.
Just
Yeah.
little screws, and you remember that?
Yeah.
He was over there going, we need to clean this up just a little bit. And then, I mean, Fred was super.
Yeah, he was
super.
Yeah, because he'd been through it a few times.
Yeah,
so
he'd
he
been,
was
he
helping
won
us.
it a couple years before.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And
Wow.
that thinking back on that, Paul, if I would have been in that situation nowadays, going as much as I have been with everything, man, I would have been really nervous then. But I remember Fred. I knew Fred, but I didn't really know him that well. That was just meeting. I think that was the first time I met him. But
Have
hell,
you
if
guys
that happened today, I would
have y'all
been
ever
nervous.
met Fred?
I've never met him.
No, he's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah, well, just being him critiquing it, telling us to back something out that I've worked on, and be like, oh fuck, this is gonna.
Fred
I'm
is-
nervous as hell for him to see this thing.
Fred is
Yeah.
a true hot rodder.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and a hell of a guy.
Yeah.
Just he wanted to help us.
Yeah.
It wasn't no.
Yeah.
It wasn't no.
Yeah.
Nothing. He's. I.
Hey, he's
He
not
wanted to
finding
help.
things wrong.
Yeah.
He's saying let's
Make it
you
better.
need to do this
I
better.
can make it better.
Yeah,
He was in
it's-
our corner. He wanted us to
Yeah,
win.
exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
That's pretty cool.
done the year before. I done the Shockwave Roadster. Remember that one? That orange
Yes.
Roadster
Mm-hmm.
that Boyd and them built. I upholstered that car for Fred, and Fred told me, he said, if you're building a car for Detroit or American Roadster, LA Roadster Show deal, he said they need to be done 6 months before you go. And every day you need to walk in there and look at it and go, what can I make better? What can I make better? That's some of the best advice. Because everybody goes to Detroit, everybody goes to the Grand
Last second.
National, and they're not done. I mean, they're pushed to the last minute, and they're not finished. And they don't judge what's good. They judge what's not finished.
Just dawned on me. You're talking about Fred helping out and picking that up. So he's wanting to help you, right? He's wanting to get you that next day. He's been through it.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's also the benefit of just a new set of eyes.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
y'all
yeah.
been
Exactly,
living
yeah.
and seeing this thing
Yeah.
all the time.
Yep.
Well, how many times all of us as builders, great friends, right? But he said, you see something before it goes to a show, and you're like, all right, I'll uncover it. You're looking, you're like, oh my God, that's awesome. But you're never going to be like, I wouldn't find something and pick it out and be like, hey, dude, like, what about that?
Yeah.
Even though if I caught it,
Yeah.
you feel weird about being like, hey, you got a little spot right there. But it's
Why do you not feel weird telling me that? though? Because that's like an end of the day. Josh he doesn't fuck around on the hot rod shop side much, but he wanders over there at the end of the. We're usually the last ones leaving, the three of us.
Impersonation. This is great.
And he'll be looking at something. Maybe it's something I'm proud of. Maybe it's something I work fucking hard on. And he gets that like, nah. And then be like, so that's that right there. Like that's the way you're gonna leave it. That's what you're that's actually
Hey, wait a
that's
minute.
done.
Have y'all two ever heard that from me?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, honest, most of the time
I've heard it
sometimes
from
he's
them.
wrong. A lot of times he's right, but it does help.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
moral of the story, it's like
You never see it for the first
a
time.
fresh set of eyes is always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always.
But you'll do that on the chassis shop side. He'll walk over.
Yeah.
I've walked past the same chassis, for 6 hours or whatever, and he'll look. You're like, I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? I don't think it's right. Well, that's a custom chassis. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I looked at the prints. Custom chassis shock mount should be so and so. Pull it. Damn it! How the fuck did you catch that? I mean, but it is fresh eyes.
It's a fresh
You
set
know
of eyes.
that when we finished that car, it sat in the office up there at Jess and Jeff's for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
We had it sitting there. Everybody that come in there, when I was in there, I don't care who it was, UPS man, whoever, I said, look at that car. Tell me what you see wrong with it. I ask everybody that. You remember me doing that?
That's
Yeah.
smart.
My sister, who's 3 years older than me, knows nothing about cars. She come out there, my sister Shirley.
Yep.
And I said, look at that car and tell me what you see wrong with it. She's not a car person whatsoever. And back then, everybody done your exhaust on street rods. You dumped them over the rear end, cut them off.
Yeah.
They were just dumped over the rear and cut off. That was common practice.
Yeah.
And Shirley looks around the car. She looks under there and she said, them pipes under there look like they're just cut off. And I said, well, that's the way they're supposed to be. She said, they just look like they're cut off to me. And you didn't have no CNC stuff
No,
or nothing.
no,
I had
no.
a mill and Paul Gillum.
Yeah.
Paul Gillum, I went down to Paul and we machined some little old bells.
I remember
to drive
those.
up in the.
I remember those on
them?
that car. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that changed the industry on how exhaust looked from the. It didn't even fasten them in. We machined them where they were
pressed them.
tight, and I took a block of wood and a hammer and drove them up
Yeah.
in the exhaust.
From your sister saying it looked unfinished.
Exactly. Somebody that had no clue,
Yeah.
but to her, those stuck out as a sore, and she was right. But as it gets to be normal for all of us of what we do, no matter if it's a chassis or whatever. But a fresh set of eyes look at it and go, that something don't look right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trying to get to that relationship, especially amongst friends and peers, especially in the thing of being like, no, tell me your honest opinion.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna
Yeah.
hurt my feelings. Tell me your honest
Right,
opinion.
yeah.
But on the other side, if you're asking for that, you can't get your feelings hurt either.
That's right, yeah,
Because we've
yeah.
been at shows all the time, especially debut in another shop, and you're looking at it, man, that thing's fucking awesome. And they're like, yeah, I'm happy with it, but I probably could have done something different. Maybe the wheel choices, could have done something different on the wheels. Well, they're second guessing it, and that's probably the first thing that we're talking about is like, man, I would have done those wheels. But instead of being like, you should have just been honest and tell them about, yeah, man, I don't know about the wheels.
Yeah.
But at that point, it's done.
You can't
So
do
Yeah.
it at the show.
yeah, you like, what are you gonna do?
That's
It's
right.
hard. Yeah.
Well, it's constructive criticism. I mean, and so many people can't handle that. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's hard.
Right.
It's hard. Designers and all get all bent out of shape when somebody says, well, I don't care for that.
At the same time, and we talked yesterday, you're building it to make yourself happy.
Yeah.
If you're happy with it, but it's not more about style thing. I think it's more of a lineup issue or something like that. Maybe it's not a flaw, but
yeah.
there's always something that you catch. You're like, man, look, that striker. That's what you're gonna leave the striker looking like that.
Yeah.
But like you said, you've been living in it. You've been seeing the thing. Well, fuck,
Yeah.
I never even looked at the striker. Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like shit. I probably need to do a little fucking sleeve on that thing, right? But it's
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's good for all of us. I mean, it just improves everybody.
Yeah.
One thing I've always said, I've had a big advantage in business because of I've had you guys bring cars to the shop. I've had Alloway bringing cars to the shop. I've had about every car builder bring a car for the interior. I got to look at the little trick piece you made.
Yeah.
I got the trick piece he made, the trick piece that Alloway made, or whatever. Everybody's neat little piece that they do, and combine those.
Yeah.
Where, as a car builder, you don't get that.
Right.
You don't
Yeah.
get to look at the other guy. Maybe at a show you do, but you don't get to look at it, how they done it, whatever.
Yep.
I've had that advantage
Yeah.
of getting to see how other people think and make one little neat piece.
Sure.
And use that piece and use this piece and use that piece to make the ultimate, you're taking everybody's cool idea
Right.
and making it better.
yeah.
So
You've
I
also-
was just telling a guy, Hawken, the
Oh, yeah.
guy from Sweden.
That's right.
I done a 32 five window for him several years ago, upholstered. And that's some gun, I never seen this done. Y'all may have seen this. But he took like inch wide tubing, half inch by 1 inch tubing, welded it to the firewall up above his air conditioner going down. You remember this? And he
think I
come
do.
down and he
Yeah.
capped both ends of this piece of tubing this long. He put a fitting on this end and a fitting going through the firewall down low.
I do.
He run
remember
his
that.
heater hoses
Oh,
into it here, feeding down,
that's clever.
tied against the firewall
Yeah.
and going out. Nobody will ever see that
Yeah.
when it's done.
Right.
But instead of bringing heater hoses out high on the firewall,
Right.
he brought them out down low.
That's a good way of not having to force,
Took up a
big
half
ass
inch.
heater hoses around.
Took up
Yeah.
a half inch on the firewall. You know how everybody's always run all the hoses down under and they're hanging out down
Yep.
here under the air
A
conditioner.
bundle of snakes to try to get them to route back
Yeah.
around. And
Not
But
kink
what
'em.
what a cool idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and nobody sees it after it's done.
Right.
You know, you just see, well, that looks good,
Yeah.
but you don't know it.
Yeah, but you get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, in your end. But also, it's probably cool for when you see a car and you're working on a car in that condition. I mean, you've got the ability then, you've been staring at it to help that builder, like, cross the finish line. I mean, you can give him some great advice to be like, hey, I've been looking at this car, working on it for the past 3 months. Hey, maybe you should take a look at this.
Yeah.
When you're
That
finishing
builder's
it up,
got to be
which-
receptive of that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people are and some people aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you were one of the ones
Yeah.
that it absorbed that.
Yeah.
I talk about that a lot. I mean, this boy was like a little sponge first time he ever come to the shop. I mean, he sucked up every little advice that you could give him to make it better.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is, by doing that, all it does is make all of us look better.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no jealousy in this. It's just, it makes all of us look good. Just,
That's
you
right.
know, and us, the three of us working together
Yeah.
is what made all of us look good.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
know, it made us build a better product,
For sure.
and the customer come back to you, so.
Yeah,
so
that's the important part of it, just getting the customer to come back
Yeah.
around to you, make them happy, and
Yeah.
get
I
them to
just-
come back to us.
do y'all know who Jim Bryant is?
Jim, who is it?
Jim Bryant built all those old fiberglass Corvettes and 57 world's fastest 57
Oh,
Chevrolet.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
That was
now.
him, Robbie Vandergriff and Jim Bryant. Robbie Vandergriff drove the world's fastest 57 Chevrolet. The
It was all
red
sponsored by
Thundercraft.
Thundercraft.
Well, Jim Bryant was Thundercraft boats,
Okay.
and Jim had Thundercraft for years, and him and Robbie raced that 57 Chevrolet. He built his own bodies and everything. And after they quit racing, he started building hot rods. He done some Corvettes, 57s, and all this stuff. I'd done interiors and all of them through the years. Great guy. And he actually Jim. Well, I got to take it back. A couple days ago, I had a salesman in the shop, carpet guy, leather guy. And we were talking, and I just said, I don't put stuff online, show all this stuff. I said, because I've never had to, because I've always had more work than I can do. So, I don't post all this stuff. And I said, and I get the same customers over and over and over and over, and just keep doing work for them. And Robbie Vandergriff backed up to the shop, dropping off Jim Bryant's 57 Chevrolet.
Wow.
Oh, no kidding.
Jim died last year.
Wow.
That's a shame. Yeah, I remember you telling me about him and all the stuff that they did
Yeah.
as far as racing that car and so
Yeah.
forth. And I remember the one you said as fast as 57 Chevrolet.
Yeah.
But that's a shame we lost that one.
So here I am doing a car for a customer that died last year.
Oh, geez. Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it
that's-
is.
That's wild.
And he wanted me to do it.
Yeah. That's
That
pretty
was
cool.
before he died. He called and talked to me.
Yeah.
I
No
want
kidding.
this car finished, and I want you to do it.
Yep, that's pretty cool.
Very
So-
cool.
That's good. You're getting that in there and knocking it out for them for
Yeah.
them. So that's cool.
That's awesome.
It's just knowing Jim.
Yeah.
And he was a great guy. Great
Yeah,
guy.
that's pretty cool.
When this 15-year-old Yankee came down, wanted to sweep the shop floor, what are you thinking at that point? It's just good help, or what? You don't know him. You don't know anything about him. You don't know if he's got
Well,
any talent or skills.
They had been to the shop several times.
Yeah, several
Every time
times.
they'd come down here, they'd
Right.
always. And another funny story about that. Connie's, Jeff's wife, her dad, he drove a truck for my wife's dad.
Oh, that's wild.
Or-
I
Laurel's
forgot about
dad.
that. I
Yeah.
totally forgot
Yeah.
about that. You're right. Yeah.
He drove a truck. My father-in-law had a trucking company here, and
Okay.
he drove a truck for them back gosh, probably in the 60s or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
I'm
that.
sure it was.
So
60s and
it's all
70s.
that. But yeah, I'd met Jesse several times, and he was eager. I could see. I like seeing young kids that are eager, like this one.
Yeah.
You know, that have the passion that I had, and want to do something with it.
What's the first thing you put him on to work on?
So
I don't know.
remember. I know we worked on Mike
Montgomery's?
Caputo's little 34 Chevrolet. Remember that 34 Chevrolet?
I think one of the first things was Alan Johnson's little yellow 37.
Was it? Okay,
Yeah,
that
like
was
his
it.
first
That was
car.
in '93.
Yeah,
when he
so
finished it.
It might not have been the very first thing, but that's the one notable car I remember really working
Doing
on,
that.
really geeking out over, and that's when I first met Alan too.
That's wild.
So we went. You did the interior in it, so I remember sitting in the back area where there was two little seats type of thing, and we were working on the seat backs. I don't know how I remember that, but anyway, he had me working on those and did that, and then the car left so Alan could finish it because he was up against deadline on it, trying to get it to Columbus right before he tried killing Bobby.
Yeah.
And so,
What did you try to kill Bobby over?
He,
He was telling us a
Taking the
story
shock
about
bolts
it.
off.
Oh, the shock. What did I named him Sparky after that.
who's that? Alan or
Alloway.
Bobby or Bobby? And but I remember us going to Alan's. It was Wesley's house.
We
Alan's
went over and
dad's house.
finished the car up.
Yeah, we finished the top up and put it. Washed
Alan
it.
had passed out.
Oh,
I mean,
he had
yes,
been working.
Alan
He'd
told
worked
that
like
story.
30
now
or
we're
40.
coming back full circle
Yeah.
because Alan told the story. You know,
Yeah.
because didn't have nothing in him. He said it wasn't going.
Yeah.
He said I ain't got nothing more.
Yeah.
And then talks about
And
y'all
me
coming over.
and Jesse
finishing it.
went over, and
Yep.
Wesley come over there,
Yep.
and we finished the car up.
He said he slept in the back seat all the way there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they put him in the back, and we drug him out of bed, throwed him in the truck, and we went to Columbus.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then I think I was definitely hooked after seeing the attention that car got once it was
It
pulled
was over
out,
with
That was
then
it.
and
and
you.
what Alan was experiencing. I was like, shit, this is awesome. I'm gonna
and
keep
Alan
doing
was
some of
just a
this.
kid.
Yeah.
He was 22.
Yeah.
Alan
Yeah,
was
he
22 years old at
I
the
remember
time.
he's like 3 or 4 years, 5 years older than me or
I
something.
know he couldn't get in 21 and younger. He just turned 22
just missed
when we
it.
went
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, that was pretty cool times. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah. That
Wow.
car wouldn't have went if we wouldn't have went over there and got that thing done.
Yeah, it was fun being a part of that help. So
Yeah.
I remember going to Paul's shop. What's the first time we went in there? Jesse and I, visiting Connie's folks. And we drove in and I thought, holy shit, look at that. There's some billet wheels. I've never
Oh,
seen
yeah.
those before.
Yeah.
You know, you see them in magazines, but shit, he had 2 or 3 sets laying around. Oh, yeah, they're for this car. Thought, man, this is cool.
It's got every
So
bit
that-
of like $1,000 in those things just sitting
Oh,
around.
yeah. At least 800 each.
It's always fun. We've talked about it 100 times. I remember my time too. Like when you're consuming stuff in magazines and pictures so much before you see the thing in person. When you do see that thing in person, no matter how big or small or even the quality of it, but when you do see, you know that first blown big block or the first billet wheels or the first street rod or whatever in person, it's just like I remember it marking on me instantly where it was like. It's real. There's a thing like it's not just things you see pictures of.
That's
and
right.
Seeing it in
Yeah.
person is way better than seeing it
Yeah.
in pictures. And you're like, man, this is a real business.
I kind of hate that well, maybe it is the same for kids nowadays or younger guys nowadays, with all the, it's so in your face with your phone, you
Yeah.
know, and,
Yeah,
it's not those pages. But it could be the same experience, I guess. They're just seeing it, scrolling, seeing all
But
that stuff. But
it is so mainstream
Nice.
though. Even
Yeah, it is.
not pictures. I mean, you go to even a local, Cars and Coffee or a local
Yeah.
cruise in, even if it's not a street rod or muscle car, whatever. There's custom wheels and custom stuff
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
You just
And
take
it's
it for granted.
You take
now.
it for granted,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
back when I know we were coming up, it was a rare thing.
It was, yeah.
You had to hunt it.
Yep.
Me and Jeff's old enough that when we grew up, everything was California. My thing was the California guys, magazine stuff, California cars, and before anything was out here, and I started going out to California in around 90. I started going out to the Roadster Show and Pleasanton and Good Guys and stuff like that, every time I could, I'd go out there. And I went to Andy's picnic. Andy Bridgeo's had that picnic out there. And this was in and I studied the magazines. I mean, I was all over, looking at everything they were doing. Because that's all is in the magazine. Back then, it was the California guy.
Yeah.
And I'd done a car for Charlie Balcom.
Yep.
That was Willys, peach-colored Willys, and designed a door panel and all for it. And we went to Andy's picnic, and I'm walking around through there, and I walk around here, and here's the 32 Ford with that door panel on it. And I'm like, they copied my ass. Okay, I'm good. That was just huge to me.
You made it.
Because somebody took that magazine article.
California's a copying Alabama.
They're copying me now.
There's something to be said for that. Like the first time you see that, it's like, I made something that somebody copied. That's kind of flattering.
And I thought those guys hung the moon, everybody out there was just doing so much more than what we were doing here, and then things started taking off around here, with Alan and you guys and me and everybody. There's a lot of hot rod shops in North Alabama,
and you guys and back in the day, and
I remember there was one article in the magazine. It said something about what's the deal with the hot rods in North Alabama?
I remember that. I forgot about that. That's pretty cool.
You think about them. You want to start naming names. I mean, you talk about Neil Lee, in center.
Oh,
you talk about Big Oak. You talk. You could just roll through Vinny. I mean, there's a lot of heavy hitters. A lot of heavy hitters.
That's because it took off and then it just grew.
Yeah.
Well, I think everything's just better in Alabama. Honestly, I mean, if you want to get down to it, it's just better.
The weather's a hell of a lot better. Hell of a lot better in Chicago.
Don't forget, we got Rad Rides by Choice in the Midwest. Right up there in Illinois.
Yeah.
Why do you think these two are out here instead of Michigan?
Yeah, instead of Michigan.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's some great cars and builders.
You obviously saw all of his eagerness, and soaking it up, soaking it all up. What's the first thing or project or interaction where you're kind of like, oh, kid might have some fucking talent too, in addition to being eager?
With Jesse?
Still trying to figure that out, I think. Paul's still
Well,
jury's still out.
Any day now.
Jury's still out.
And I'll tell you.
The beer's all right.
I'll tell you, building that Speedstar, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard between all of us.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I pushed both of these guys hard.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I picked and trying to make it the best. Did I not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And because I wanted to see y'all do better.
Yeah.
I mean, I still remember little things that I said, man, this.
Well, we'd argue over and bitch over, and then we'd get up there the next day and change it and power through, and it made it better. So I learned a bunch from that.
And you guys together were like fabricating, building that whole car?
Yeah, we were working out there, but Paul was still, because the shops were real close together.
I mean,
at
we
that
could
time.
throw a rock from one to the other. So.
Yeah.
Well, the shop you came to, their shop was right behind it.
Okay.
So I was out there. I'd come to my shop and get the guys going. I'd be out there the rest of the day and night working, and they would too. And but we had some hard times.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was pushing for all of us to be better.
Yeah.
That's what I was pushing for. I wasn't. I know it hurt.
Yeah.
There were some hard feelings through all that, but it was.
We got over it.
I mean, but I mean,
Had to.
But it was the little detail things that I seen other people doing that I was trying to push into.
Yeah, trying to get facilitated and being done.
And
that's the base of what's that's let us roll off the past 20 years since then, or 23 years since then.
And I'm so proud of these guys for what they've done.
Yeah.
I mean, they've stepped it up way further than I ever could. And I'm very proud of them.
That's good.
You ever think about that when you got guys that y'all are pushing on, and trying to push to the next
Oh yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Especially even in the body shop stuff of like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
man, you hold your head like this. You don't see that right there. He doesn't come back and be like, oh shit, that's the same shit Paul was doing.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I thought,
Now,
yeah,
hey,
he
hey,
did
Jeff,
say that.
Jeff, now say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You lost the top of your mic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
Did I?
You know, one thing that I want to mention too.
Sorry.
I know when we first moved, he first moved down, and then I guess it was, I don't know whether we were down here yet, but when we'd go to a car show, we'd hang out with Paul, and we met Bobby Alloway and Alan Johnson and Boyd somewhat, and a lot of guys, California, and all the guys that were in it before we even built the car. And that was Paul's fault.
Connections.
And that, we kind of come in the back rather than build a car and try and get known.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, so
Bobby
that was a
really
huge
took
help
I think
for
Bobby
us.
took a liking to Jesse a lot. I could see that right away. And Paul kept introducing him just kept pushing him out. And,
Yeah.
that's huge appreciation. That's what, I think that's what got us going.
That helped drive the relationship side of all of it. Meeting the magazine people that Paul was putting us in front of and everything else, and
Yeah,
helping
Fred
that. And that was
Warren,
that
we
was a
met
huge
Fred.
push on that side of it as well.
And I think that's what helped us.
And how about
They
the
did.
how about the two of you guys? I mean, father and son working together, like actually physically working on the same car.
Yeah.
Has that always been good? Is it?
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you guys don't ever butt
We
heads.
just,
You're not.
Dad's always
no.
wanted me to deal with the front of the shop,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
always wanted. He had his own business, so he just always wanted to stay in the back after selling
Yeah,
the milk
now
route
I
side
just
of it.
stay in the body shop and
And
I don't know,
But-
try and get out of work, and I can't.
Yeah.
we always laugh. Somebody'll be in the shop or something, and they'll say, why don't you guys have your own TV show and stuff here? And especially during the OCC days, with all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never leaned into it, never wanted to really, but I'd always say, I don't know, Dad and I don't fight enough, so there's not much to see around here.
I'll just
We're
say
just building
"Fuck
some old
that,"
cars.
and just go back to work.
Yeah.
Or I'll get something all done. He'll come back. Man, that looks shitty. Okay. But you gotta. I mean, if it does, it does.
Yeah.
If it looks good, it looks good. If you don't say nothing, I know it's all right.
Yeah.
You've taught him well.
Yeah, I love it.
He's
Yeah.
probably taught me. It's that tough love thing he taught me growing up.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
If I'm not in trouble, I'm good. I'm gonna
man,
keep going.
Paul, go to Paul and Jesse and I. Fuck, we've had some great times.
Remember taking that old 46 Ford Coupe?
Oh,
to
yeah.
It only takes that little bit.
Drove it to Columbus with no rear end grease.
The damn Baron went out.
You didn't get too
I had-
far, did you?
I had no 40.
We got all the way to Columbus.
Oh, really?
I had
Man,
a
it's
46
noisy.
Ford Coupe. 8-inch Ford rear end under.
Yeah.
The three of us, no interior in this car. I mean, just
That was the best part of the
it
interior.
had no
guy.
interior.
The interior guru of the country at the time.
Oh, that was
We get up there and
the
we roll in a
convertible.
show with no interior.
No,
No, the
it
coupe
was
didn't
a
have
coupe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the convertible didn't have no interior in it for 2 years or so when he drove it
Yeah.
around.
me and Jesse and the three of us, we take off up there, and we get over to Gadsden, and we're hearing this little noise, and we keep
howling?
going,
I
and
was
it
in the
just gets
back.
a little worse,
Yeah,
little
like
worse, little worse. Time we get to Columbus, we got a wheelbarrow out of this thing. so we get to the hotel, and we're like, okay, I went to a parts house that night and go and get a wheelbarrow. I went and bought a wheelbarrow, and that night we tore it down. That was when the wedding was in.
Yeah.
That's after the wedding. Jesse comes out there with the bride's.
Forgot about
bride's dad, and he's drunk as shit, and they're out there. We're tearing the rear end down, and they're drunk as shit, and we're out there tearing this rear end down, and we get out, and it's a bad bearing. And the parts place I bought it from, they said, they had a machine shop beside it. They said, we can press it on in the morning, not a problem. Bring it back over here. Well, it's rained like hell, and there was a storm that night.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
we go back over, and the next morning a tree has fell and tore the power off the building. They don't have no power, so they can't do it.
Now you got the car in pieces.
And
Axle's
I'm
out of
in.
it.
I think
in the
I'm in
driveway.
WD's. Is it WD's car I'm in?
Yeah, Mike.
I think it
down
was.
there.
Pickup. No, that was
No,
in-
it was some kind of old car. One of your buddies.
Chris was with us.
Okay.
Chris
He come
Holbein.
down from Michigan.
Yeah.
A buddy of
And-
mine from high school
So
came down and met
so
us.
I can't get a bearing pressed on. Saturday morning, I'm trying to find someplace. I'm riding all, this is for GPS and shit.
Yeah.
I'm riding around hunting a
Just
place to
knocking
put
on
a bearing
doors.
on.
Yeah.
I see a Amco transmission.
Yeah, they got to have a press. right?
And I said, they got a press.
Yep.
Okay. So I wheel in there and I go in and Yankee guy, sitting in there, got the flat top and it's back here like this. And I said, is there any way you can press a bearing on here? And he says, what you got? And I showed him, he said, yeah, sit down there. I sit down. I'm like a little kid in school. I'm sitting over here and I'm waiting. He makes me sit there for about an hour. I'm sitting there waiting. Finally, he comes. He says, go back there and see Joe. And I go back there. Joe's back there. Real nice guy in the back. Me and him get back there. We press the bearing on, get the bearing pressed on. 15 minutes, we got the bearing pressed on, ready to go. I give Joe some passes to get in the car show, because I got some extra ones. I go back out there, and this guy out front, I said, what I owe you? He said, $50, like that. I give him 50, and I got to the door, and about the time I was going out the door, I said, I would have paid 100. Went out the door. Went back. We put that thing together.
Yeah.
You remember we got up there? Remember all the beer cans we had stuck around the
gosh.
headlight? Remember that? I bet
Tommy
you we
Foster
had.
stopped us and made us clean it out. He goes, "You boys are going to go to jail."
we had been drinking beer and we had stuffed. We
them
didn't
in
have
the
a headliner or nothing. We'd stuffed the beer cans around. We had it all the way around. It must have been 50 beer cans in this thing.
That was
a
didn't
good
Rick and
time.
I go to the wedding reception?
Yeah, y'all went in. Y'all
Everyone
were in
was
there
dancing
while
with the bridesmaid
I had.
or with the
They
bride.
crashed the
I
wedding.
had rear
Wedding
end.
crashers.
I had rear end dope all over me out there in the name. Y'all in there, damn.
They probably wrote
dancing
the
with
movie
the
about
bride.
these guys.
Rick was funny.
Parking lot,
Just go in there and
parking lot
dance with it.
repairs and rebuilds are some of the
Yeah, and,
funnest
and
stories.
hotel stories. That's
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, that's the best part of all this.
Not near
The shit
as much.
It
tearing
was
up.
like nonstop in the early
Our
days.
best
Yeah.
stories traveling is shit tearing up.
Yeah.
That's the best part. And the people that help you and along the way.
Yep.
And just regular old Joes that end up helping you and doing stuff for you, and
It's always
That's
been
great.
a journey.
that's our stories with all those trips we do. Is when we tear up, we talk about what we done to get this shit fixed.
I like
I
that.
don't like it in the moment, but I remember I like the times of when something hasn't fully failed, but it's like if we can just get to the next hotel, we're probably gonna have to fix whatever it is. But on the way there, you're thinking about what you do have and what you're gonna have to get, and you're trying to like visualize the job in your head of like, well,
You're working.
we're probably gonna have 9/16 for that, and then you're definitely gonna have to have an ooh, that one's gonna be tough
Yeah.
to get to.
And
Trying to get in there.
So and so assembled it, so there's probably no
Yeah.
anti-seize on it.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna have
that
to
one-
drill that fucking fastener out.
The amount of horrible tool sets that
Yeah.
have been bought for the one tool in that
Yeah,
set to get it.
I've got about 20 of those.
They're all in little bags too.
All
like-
kinds. Yeah.
that
And then you're like, well, we might need this. We don't know if we're going to need it, but we might as well go ahead and get it.
We were on a trip up to Victoria to the Deuce Days.
Yeah.
Dick Bales was with us in his old 40 or 37 Woody.
Oh, yeah.
And we were going over Beartooth Pass up in Yellowstone. We're at the summit. We're going down the other side. We're coming down through there, and I'm in front, and there's a damn rock about this big in the road. And I whipped to miss it, and we got radios, and I holler, and Wayne Davis behind me, and he goes this way, and Dick goes whack. Took the bottom of the oil pan off of LS motor.
Oh.
I mean, it absolutely. You could put a
that make
football
noise.
in the bottom of the oil pan.
Wow.
We're up on top of that.
Ain't no parts stores around there.
No cell service, no nothing. We're up on top of the mountain. He rolls 20 miles down that mountain. 20 miles. Rolls
Has it
down the
off
bottom.
and just coasting?
Just coast.
Wow.
All the way down the bottom of the mountain. He's already said, hey, we'll ship this home and we'll get a flight and go home. And we rolled down the bottom of the mountain. I had a tow strap. I had my old 46. I hooked to him, and I towed him about 30, 40 miles up to Interstate 90 up in Montana. And we stayed in a hotel there.
In tow.
And and Lenny Branch, he's looking through fellow pages, NSRA fellow pages, and he finds some guy in Missoula, Montana, I think it was, that said, if you get it over here, I can weld it up. and another guy said, well, I got one. He done called a bunch of people.
Yeah.
One guy had one. He said, but this was on Sunday. He said, I won't take it off till Monday. He said, I'm a church-going guy. I won't take it off on Sunday. He said, but you can come get it Monday. Well, we get back to the hotel. Dick says, it won't come off. It won't come off. You gotta pull the motor to get this out. I said, let's try it. We're out in the parking lot at this hotel, and we got it jacked up. We're under there. Me and him's under there, and we got the motor jacked. We're trying to jack the motor up, and I said, man, we need a piece of 2x, maybe 18 inches long. And I hear some guy say, how long you need it? I'm like, who's this guy? And there's some carpenters saying there, and all of a sudden I hear skill saw. They're cutting up wood and passing it under there, and we're jacking this motor up, and we get it up there, and the motor is touching the firewall, and the pan goes poof, falls out. and Dick and Lenny take off. It's like an hour to wherever this guy was. He welded a piece of street sign in the bottom, tigged on it for 5 hours, and then took JB Weld, smeared all over that.
Oh my God.
Brought it back. They got back about 1 o'clock in the morning with this pan. 6 o'clock, me and Dick was out there, put that thing back on at about 8:15. We had oil in it heading west.
No kidding. That's cool.
That's cool.
And, I mean, we talk about that story all the time.
That goes on the wall.
Yeah,
sure.
no
That
kidding.
oil pan
Yeah,
goes on the
definitely.
wall.
It's hanging on the wall with a big street sign that says "Watch for fallen rocks" in Dick's shop
that's
over
great.
there.
That's awesome.
We got that sign that said "Watch for fallen rocks," and the next year Dick couldn't go. He had shingles, and we went out there, and every time we'd stop, we'd put that sign in a chair and take a picture and send it. Watch for fallen rocks.
That's great.
So, I mean, that's the fun part. You know, when this shit breaks and people help you.
Yeah.
And,
I remember that one. We were on a tour, and the thermostat stuck. We were in Wyoming or something.
Yeah, we were at the the Tetons.
Yeah.
Out there in the middle of
And
nowhere.
Valiant.
No, this was in Dad's truck.
Yeah, you
On the
guys
fif-
were there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
We're
I
in the
remember that.
thermostat,
Yeah.
and all you guys, there's 15 cars that stopped. You guys are flying a drone. Everybody was drinking beer. It's like we were on vacation. You're just
we
sightseeing.
actually were.
Yeah,
we were.
And then the bolt stripped out, so I had a 1/4-inch bolt. We poked a hole in the thermostat on the LS, and then put that 1/4-inch bolt in with anti-seize. That stayed in there for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Then we replaced the motor.
Ain't no use in fixing it when it worked.
Yeah.
And then we put cardboard in front of the grill. We were at the ski place. Where was that? Jackson Hole.
Yeah, in
It
Jackson
was-
Hole. It's
It was
cold.
30 degrees, no heater. Man, we froze. Had that cardboard in front of the radiator. Still didn't help. But we had a great time.
Yeah,
was
this
a good time.
side of the road repairs are something else. I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm less prone to fuck with them anymore. Like it used to be, we'd be yarding transmissions out, pulling
Yeah.
gas tanks,
Oh, I know it.
replumbing fuel systems, running all over town to find stuff, and now it's like, I just fucking put it back in the trailer. We'll deal with it.
Take it home.
There's also way less like small problem. Like all the manufacturers have gotten better and all the builders have gotten better.
Yeah.
So only
If it's a
problems you got
problem,
now
it's-
is catastrophic.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
just that tranny's locked up.
Yep.
Well, you
Yeah.
ain't pulling that and
Or
fixing it.
a rock and roll.
A rock.
Yeah, rock and roll.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's not just a
Yeah, rock and
My
roll.
thing, we do this trip. There's 7 or 8 of us go on that living the dream deal every year, and we come by y'all's last year, and my thing is when a car gives trouble, I go, oh shit, that wasn't one I done. Not mine. I didn't work on that one.
I mean, there's been time we've talked about this 100 times, but there was times way back. All remember this of the hell. Bobby was talking about it last night on trying to crank the car to get it out for the HRI thing, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as a bunch of people's looking,
Oh, I
that's
know.
about when something's going to screw up, right?
That's right.
When
That's right.
I mean, there's been times, overheating in the staging lanes, doing stuff like that, and you always were so nervous, and you'd get better, and you'd get better, and you get better, and then you go on the first road tour like you ever do, and you take the entire shop of tools with you and every spare part you possibly, and you're nervous the whole time, and it takes like 3 days before you start like relaxing. You're like, maybe everything will be okay. And then you fast forward. I mean, what was the last road tour? We're looking, maybe even one of the runs to Columbus, and there's 12 cars that we built all 12 cars, employees and customers and stuff like that. 3 or 4 of them got 15 miles on them.
Yeah.
And this is the first break-in miles. And you leave out like not really thinking about it, because you've done them and you feel. I mean, not being cocky, but you get.
That's right. Yeah.
Once you get a routine down and you've. But the only thing is you
but
have to go
parts
through
failure.
every
Yeah.
possible failure and every screw-up that you could have made.
Yeah.
So after 20 years, you've made all the screw-ups and you've learned from them. From
As
most
long
of
as you've
them.
learned from them and don't do them again.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
it.
problem.
But when an alternator takes a shit, you ain't
Yeah.
got no control over it, or parts like that.
Right, those are tough too. But you weed through some manufacturers too. Like when you got a certain serpentine drive that like this thing shits an alternator at every damn show I go to.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe we do it differently.
So you go to the better
Yeah.
source. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's.
Again,
I mean
it's
those are actually a leg of your business. Because if they're failing, it's causing you to fail.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
I mean, there's no doubt. If you keep having failures because of them, it's creating problems for you.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
you
Yeah.
Remember back in the day, Columbus was great because Jegs was across the parking lot. So anything you broke, you can usually go there and get it. Like Indy, we knew where all the Napas were and the O'Reillys were, all around the Adams mark.
Texas.
I
was
went to
Summit,
that Napa
right?
store many a
Texas
time.
had
in Indy.
We didn't find local speed shops all the time. You knew every little.
Yeah.
I call this, how your kids at home, they're really good, that you take them out and they act up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way these fucking cars
Yes.
do.
Yeah. Fucking works.
They're good around the house.
For sure.
They I can't remember who said it, Paul. I think I heard it from you, but somebody told you and said all these cars are pieces of shit. Just some of them look better than others.
No, that's what Alan built the 37.
Yeah.
And he took it out to California, the yellow one you're talking about.
Yep.
And he took it to Pleasanton and one Tom Taylor picked in Pleasanton, Good Guys, way back then in '93. Tom Taylor was the pick. That was the Good Guys car of the year.
Yeah.
And he won that deal.
Oh yeah.
And he brought it back to the Frog Follies in Evansville, Indiana.
Yep.
And we went up there, and we were all up there, and they come back, him and Wesley and Nathan, and they got back down there, and Alan had that car out there, and he went to start it. He's 22 years old, and they went, wouldn't start. And Alan was red-faced. Everybody's out there looking at the car. He's embarrassed. I go over there, and I said that. I went over there to him. I said, Alan, all these cars are pieces of shit. Just some of them look better than others. You need to get over this.
Yeah.
You need to relax with it. And go on.
This is
Poteet-
part of it.
I like what George Poteet call them fancy engine stands.
Yeah. All of them are
It's
fancy.
like,
fancy.
ain't nothing but a fancy
That's
engine.
a good way to put it
He
too.
told me that about a certain car he had built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, that's the most expensive engine stand I ever had. I'm not going to say the guy y'all all know.
I heard that too.
That's good.
That's the most expensive engine stand.
Well, fellas, I think that, I appreciate it. We all appreciate it for the invite come down here. This has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Mind
it's
blown.
Fun stuff.
We
Thank
expected
you.
good things, didn't expect this much. But more importantly, I think all three of us can agree that we are proud to call you guys friends.
Absolutely.
First and foremost.
For sure.
Absolutely,
It's great knowing that you got people all over the country that got your back.
If your car breaks down, we'll help you.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, in all seriousness, it's we spent for the last probably day and a half talking about friendships, relationships, and all that, and weaving all these back. So this has been amazing to weave in from Bobby and Alan and you and Paul and Jeff, like all the it's that's what I think that a lot of young guys don't understand. You're like,
That's right,
y'all
yeah.
just friends, or you're just this. And like, well, there's a lot of history, and
And it's
a lot of hurt feelings, and a lot of pissed off people, and a lot of broke down cars, and a lot of
Yeah, to get here.
tears.
Yeah. hopefully to nowadays the younger crowd, the younger guys coming up, hopefully they know it's okay to go be buddies with this other guy doing the same thing you're doing, because there's enough work out there. So shit, let's have some fun with it together and know each other. And we both have similar wants, needs, and troubles. Yep. So let's come together with it and have a good time with it. I think hopefully they're
makes it all better.
That's been the thing in my business. I've tried to be friends with every upholsterer there is. Yeah. And I can call Sid Shavers or Tracy Weaver or any of them guys and say, man, I seen how you done it. How'd you do that? Or you know, they can do the same thing with me. Yep. And you know, try to share information to help us all get better. Yeah. I remember calling you about a speedometer with a needle falling off, and it never happened before. Yep. That's the first time.
Yeah, those don't ever happen.
Never happened. Never happened. I had one fall off, and I was talking to Phil, and he started laughing. He said, hell, I had one fall off yesterday off of one of them. They never fall off.
Was that the 29?
According to one gauge builder guy.
What a story that one was.
A little crack in the shop pulling out of the overhead door, and kaboom, boom, right off into the bottom of the gauge.
I liked one of JR's shocks. JRI shocks. Remember they were squeaking?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, just we had some squeak, or JJ, you know, that was with JRI for a while. You guys probably dealt with him some on the chassis side of it. And great dude. But Dad had on his truck had a squeak in it. We couldn't figure out what the hell it was. We're going through everything, and we called JJ, and we're like, hey, dude, do you ever have any shock squeaking? He's like, fuck, no, we never you know, he just went off on us in a funny way, you know, but he was like, what is it with you guys? Come find out, it was a little bushing in the sway bar.
The sway
bar
finally
figured out, but yeah.
Take him out and grease him.
That was on us then, huh?
Yeah, so it was all your guys' fault.
It's your squeak.
Must have been like a Morrison chassis.
That's the squeak I got.
That's the shock.
I've been chasing that. It's on that
Put a little grease on it. Put a little grease on it.
The bushings.
I know what to do.
We took them out.
This is kind of where that Hawk 2 grill comes in. Right?
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought y'all old enough to already know that. If it starts squeaking, put a little grease on it. I mean, everybody's known that.
We do now.
It's important sharing this knowledge. You know?
That's
So
right,
you guys are sort of like a software company.
Yeah.
So you sell the shit before it's done.
Oh, yeah.
And then you sell us an update
Absolutely.
down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then another
there's
update to
V2.
make
Oh,
it
you're gonna want version 2.0.
Oh,
on that
you
one,
wanted
yeah.
that? You didn't tell us.
Yeah, you got the
Oh, we
original
just
one.
thought you wanted this. You just tell us. You
Oh,
wanted
wait,
that.
you haven't paid the yearly maintenance
Yeah,
on
that's
it.
what we got to come up with.
Yeah,
We're
so
still
we
working
got-
on that model. That's jet money right there.
That is.
Yeah, they done stepped up into the corporate world.
But
Yeah.
you ain't never told me on the end of the phone call, well, I'd have paid $100. If you'd have told me that, then I'd have
You know, like I said, my truck's got 70,000 on it. If you put it on the lift, it looks like 70,000.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe 100.
Oh, God, yeah. It's rough.
Hey,
It's
that's
all
a
right.
good part of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Wear them
Use
some
a
guns
shit
out.
out of it.
I mean,
Fellas, it's
that's
been-
the one thing I think needs to happen more in this industry. They need to be driven.
Don't
Yeah.
just
They
drive
need to
the
be
hell out of
driven.
them.
They
Yeah.
need to
Yep.
be used. I mean, you guys are building such a great product
Thank you.
to get out there and use that damn thing and go down the road in it. I mean, you know, Chuck Losey just picked up chassis and he got that Camaro chassis for himself. That's a 67 Camaro he's putting that under. He got that car when he was 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And Chuck's he's 58, I think now. And we've talked about this Camaro. I've known Chuck me and him been friends for 30-something years. And he's talked about this Camaro all these
He's
years.
finally doing it.
And well, no, he's worked on it for 30. I mean, I give him a big block to go in it because it was a factory big block car. And he called me and he said, "What about a roadster shop chassis? Do I need one?" I said, "Yeah, you need one." He goes, "Well, you know, I'm not going to drive this much." I said, "If you put a roadster shop chassis under it, you'll drive the damn thing."
Yeah.
I said, "Don't let it sit in the garage." I said, "You'll enjoy it and drive it." And that's how I sold him the chassis. And so, I mean, that's what you guys are doing to cars. You're making them so much better than we've ever had.
And we got to keep making them better because everybody else starts. I mean, all the builders keep making them better and better, and then expecting more and more.
Yeah.
So it's like
Well,
it's a push and pull.
And your
It's great.
competition's trying to push you too.
Yeah.
You know, they're pushing the limits
Who
on
would
there.
that? Who's that? Be?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
but,
me neither.
but I mean, everybody's trying to get better.
Yeah.
So I mean, you
What's
guys
the best
have
chassis out
modesty.
there now?
The best chassis? That's easy. The worst chassis is the one we could talk for hours on.
Have y'all used one of the ride line chassis?
The what, ride lines?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we
You've
have.
done one.
Yeah, it's
Have
pretty,
you drove it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I'm sold on that on any larger car that
sweet.
you get them under. That's
What's mine?
That's
Here's a fast track.
Fast track.
that ride line is just those longer shocks. And
Yeah, it gets it
the
done.
What did we
ride.
put it on?
Don's truck is 58. It's right after they first come
Your
out.
truck,
with
your
them.
truck. We got to get you a 9-inch for it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a house.
Yeah.
Ride
Yeah,
line
we
came
need
from
that.
all these
I need
road
to-
tours we were doing.
That was exactly it.
I mean, that's everyone's talking. They want ride quality. They want something smooth. They want something that floats down the road. And for a long time, we were just so focused on like the track-based stuff and
Yeah.
kind of like started listening to your customers.
Did
That's
George
all they're
push
doing.
y'all on
So-
that?
Yeah, the first ride line ever done was on George's
Yeah.
for the 57. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
That was the
I
prototype.
think
for that.
we all need to say cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers,
George.
George.
Absolutely.
Cheers,
Absolutely.
cheers,
Hell
George.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good point, Paul.
He was a hell of
Yep.
a guy for our industry
Yep.
Yeah.
for a lot
A
of
huge
years.
loss
He-
for this
A lot of
industry.
years.
Made the industry.
Yeah.
I remember George Poteet going to Tupelo, Mississippi in the 80s. He was in that club in Tupelo, and they had a Halloween cruise, they called it. And George would make gumbo. They'd have barbecue and gumbo. On Friday night, they'd feed everybody, but he had a pot this big around. He was stirring it with a fishing oar. This is how he was stirring the gumbo. He had on overalls and no shirt and be barefooted sometimes. And that was George back in the 80s.
That man, I
He's a
mean,
hell
I
of a
said
guy.
it before. He was easy to be friends with. He was harder to make happy. And he was near impossible to impress.
Yeah.
And when you did impress him, and that's that certain smile that he would get because he was happy, he was impressed, he was surprised, and that's a rare thing, that made it all worth it.
Yeah.
But man, he was hard to make happy.
He was.
Easy to be friends with, but if you impressed him, where he was like, oh wow, it's like, and we've had a few opportunities to do that, and that right there, that's memories I'll take.
Well, he
That's
had so
cool.
much quality stuff over the
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Till
Yeah, he had the
I
best of
remember
the
the
best.
first time I met George, I was with Paul. We were at Indy Good Guys, and we were walking. It just been raining, the night before, because it rarely rained at Indy.
it never.
But we were out kind of in the grass field there walking along, and we met George in a pair of old faded overalls, T-shirt on, and boots. He had rubber boots with his overalls tucked in them, and he's just slopping through the mud and walking around looking at cars. And just real slow talking. And I remember we walked away, and Paul goes, "That right there is why you never judge a book by its cover." So, and I took that to heart over the years too.
Yeah,
so that was pretty
every
cool.
time I started doing work for George in the 80s,
Yeah.
upholstering cars, and every time I'd see him, California or Detroit or wherever he was at, he'd say, "Don't you ever work?" Every time I'd say, "Don't you ever work?" He'd ask me that every time. Have y'all heard the story about him and Paul Gillum going pheasant hunting?
No,
don't
Him
think so.
and-
I haven't.
Him and Paul became friends from Bonneville, out there at Salt Flat, and Paul said something about pheasant hunting, and George said, "Where are you going pheasant hunting?" And Paul used to go to Mitchell, South Dakota, every September and go pheasant hunting, and George said, "I like to go," and so they started going, and Paul said George come out there with a grocery sack full of money and want to pay for everything. And it just made Paul mad.
Yeah.
Paul was like, "George, you don't need to." And Paul finally told him, he'd done that a couple of years. Paul said, "I'm not going no more if you're going to pay for everything."
Yep.
Yeah. And George said, "Well, you buy the food." but the one right before Paul died, Paul had, y'all were on that trip we come from y'all shop and drove down. We was at Allen's shop, and Paul Gillum fell.
Yeah.
In the shop.
Yep.
His knee give out on him, and
Yeah.
he just fell. Well, probably right after that, they were out in Mitchell. And George told this story. He said, we're out there, and Paul's down here, and said a bunch of birds went up, those pheasants went up, and George swung around and fired. By the time he shot, Paul fell. His knee gave out on him. He fell, and he said, oh, shit, I've killed him. I killed Paul. He thought he shot him because he swung around there and shot over the top. He thought he killed him. And Paul was laying on the ground flopping around because of his knee.
Oh, damn.
Oh, God. Good shit.
You know, them two became really good friends,
Yeah.
before the end. George came down for Paul's funeral. That was in the middle of COVID and all,
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was
Yeah.
good guys.
good stuff.
Yeah, they
good
were.
guys. Hate that we
Well,
lost
fellas,
them.
it's about that time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
we
appreciate it.
guys.
Well, you got to get another beer or what?
Yeah, we got to get something else.
Beard out.
Hey, Jesse.
Yeah.
Your Dry County,
Yeah.
perfect name.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
this has been a dry
Dry
county,
county.
still a dry county,
Yeah.
all of our lives,
Really?
and great beer.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Paul,
very good beer,
Paul
dude.
White back there, the brewery, does a hell of a job with it. So
I told Jesse when he was doing this, I said, you got to make a beer that normal people like instead of damn dry or brewery beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a fan of hoppy type
Right.
beer.
Yeah, you knocked it out of the park on that one because I'm not a beer guy. I'm
Yeah.
just like water, Miller Lite, Bud
Yeah,
Light,
yeah,
just
yeah.
garbage beer.
Yep.
Say it, but dude, that
It
for
is.
just for a
Parking lot
non-beer drinker,
beers.
that's a great, just
yeah.
Thank you.
great
Thank
beer.
you. It's
Well,
good
great
stuff.
job on the whole place.
Hey,
It's a
thank you.
wonderful
Thank you.
place.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Hell
hell
of
of
an
a job,
undertaking
dude.
here.
Very
it was,
impressive.
but yeah, I appreciate that, man.
This harder than building a car?
Oh yeah, I could build 3 or 4 cars and for what it took to do this. So yeah, but it's good. It was fun. It was exciting, and it was a really fun challenge, and glad it's where we're at now though. So
I did a hell of a job.
tackle something else
Yeah,
next year
amazing.
soon. We'll
Let's
see.
grab some beers,
Hey,
man.
Okay.
Let's do
and
it.
thank you guys for what y'all do. Because
Yeah.
y'all are
Yeah, this-
fantastic.
Entertaining.
Definitely.
and
Thank you guys for
What,
having your trust
what
in
y'all
us.
do
and
for us just takes
Good
the
to know
pain
you
out of
guys.
it. It really
screw around
does.
with you.
Absolutely.
You got to see a Riddler trophy in real.
I got
did
to
real
touch it.
jam, did.
Yeah.
I still think it's a replica.
I thought about
I still
stealing
think
it.
it's a replica.
You're taking it.
We'll let you
time.
borrow it.
Well, they ain't never got one of those?
No.
Fuck, them are a dime a
They've
dozen
got
down
so
here.
many of them. I figured
We
out-
got them everywhere,
Well,
don't
we
we?
do.
We got it all over Alabama.
We got 2.
I mean, shit.
We don't have any
Well, I mean,
toolboxes, but we got.
I thought maybe them vehicles y'all built might have won one of them.
No,
Hey, y'all never
no,
won
I
one
don't
of
have-
them?
yeah.
Oh, shit.
We kept
Hell.
getting dinged for interior on them. You know?
Well, you ought to get a better interior guy, you know? I never done one that y'all done to take up there, see?
I've only taken one car there.
Yeah, I mean, we took one. We got a
What
grade,
was it?
grade 8.
Oh, yeah.
It was a
32
road,
Roadster.
32 Roadster.
Yeah, that's a
hybrid.
Would
Yeah,
I
I
do the
remember that.
interior?
No.
Okay, there's a problem.
Yeah, we'll get it one of these
I have
days.
to tell you,
I'm so
Laurel-
not interested in the award, but I feel like I need to build a car to win it just to shut you up.
I hope you don't, so we can keep bugging you.
Be the greatest reception speech ever. All right, I'd like to take this opportunity to say, fuck you, Jesse. What do we got?
All right, we're out.
Okay, see ya.
Hey, y'all don't need to go there because it's just, what they
Although
picked
it- although
the
it-
last few years.
After our last episode with all of us together, I don't think we're probably allowed to go. So I don't think there's any worries there.
No,
Oh, I'm sure they
especially if they
forgot.
get any wind of it.
What if we just machine
The car?
a 1.5 scale version of a Riddler trophy? So we'll have one that's just bigger than everybody else.
I got 2 on my
not a bad
toolbox
idea.
you printed.
Yeah, we did.
Or no, these guys
Y'all
printed.
printed them.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah. Or no, it was when you was working there. No, you still in.
They printed me a little mini Mother Shine Award.
Yeah, that
and they
was
printed
right.
y'all a little.
yeah, one, and then we had 2 Riddlers.
Yeah.
I should. Damn it! I should have had the. I still got them. I should have wore them for
You know
you.
what? I do too.
Should
I
have
wasn't
had the fucking
thinking ahead.
award sitting out here.
No,
Both
well,
you were
Paul
throwing
could've
them.
Hey,
brought
I
it.
got the big one.
We could have put chips and salsa in that, and his. It's got the cup on
I
it.
did.
got
We
a
had a
cup on
party,
the top.
and I put chips and salsa.
Exactly what you should do.
That's the way you do it when you're redneck, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
We should have videoed that and put it online.
Yeah, no, just send it to them.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that.
All right, it's beer time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
y'all.
Thanks.
Enjoyed it. Enjoyed it.